Born into a powerful European dynasty, you may believe Maria Anna was destined for greatness and power. Yet she was no beauty, no political mastermind, and remained unwed for years. She would eventually marry her cousin, the future Holy Roman Emperor, but she passed away and faded into history before he ascended the throne. This is her story. Maria Anna of Bavaria was born in the city of Munich on the 18th of December 1574. Her father was William V, Duke of Bavaria, the head of the House of Wittelsbach, which traced its roots back to the 11th century. At the time, Germany was divided into literally hundreds of states. Some of these were large duchies like Bavaria, but others were ecclesiastical principalities, and more still were just free cities that controlled a little more than a town and a bit of adjoining countryside. All of these fractured kingdoms and principalities were loosely bound beneath the fading banner of the Holy Roman Empire, a ghost of an empire that clung to life for centuries, and whose throne was almost always held by the head of the Austrian Habsburgs. Maria Anna's mother was Renata of Lorraine, a noblewoman who hailed from the borderlands of eastern France. Her extended family included the infamous Dukes of Guise, militant Catholic hardliners who played a central role in the blood-soaked French Wars of Religion that ravaged the kingdom from 1562 to 1598. That same ironclad Catholic militancy ran through Bavaria as well. As a result, it was one of the few German strongholds that had resisted the Protestant Reformation since it began in 1517. It was in this staunchly Roman Catholic environment that Maria Anna was raised in Munich. Maria Anna's childhood followed the expected script for a highborn girl of her time. She was trained in sewing, music, and other refined pastimes of courtly life. Like many noble daughters, she also would have been taught to read and write Latin, the sacred tongue of Catholic Mass, and the language used by scholars and the educated across Europe. Maria Anna came of age amid scandal and chaos at the Wittelsbach court. Her father, Duke William V of Bavaria, had nearly bankrupted the duchy with his obsession for grandeur, pouring fortunes into the Jesuit causes, theatrical displays of faith, and an opulent court. Facing financial ruin and mounting pressure, he dramatically abdicated in 1597 and vanished behind monastery walls, where he lived out the next 29 years in cloistered penance. With her ambitious brother Maximilian now in power, Maria Anna's value as a dynastic bride suddenly soared, and plans for a politically explosive marriage were soon underway. Maximilian proved to be a far more competent ruler than his father. A staunch Catholic and skilled statesman, he was determined to strengthen Bavaria's alliance with the Austrian Habsburgs, who shared his determination to stop the growing spread of Protestantism. As Lutheranism, Calvinism, and other reformist faiths gained ground across northern and western Germany, Maximilian positioned himself as a key figure in the Catholic Counter-Reformation. And as was all too common for the times, he now looked towards his younger sister as a pawn in these efforts. Maximilian was born a year before Maria Anna, yet he himself had been married in 1595. Maria Anna, on the other hand, was nearing her mid-20s, an unusually late age to remain unmarried for a princess of such high birth. In royal Europe, daughters were typically wed off in their teens, prized for their fertility and diplomatic value. But Maria Anna lingered at court, unwed, and increasingly overlooked. Rumours now circulated. Her looks were said to be plain at best, and severe at worst. Some pointed to a rigid, overly devout temperament that may have made her an awkward match. Whether due to political miscalculations or personal drawbacks, Maria Anna's prospects had stalled, until fate and family strategy intervened. Negotiations eventually led to her betrothal to Ferdinand, then Duke of Inner Austria, a powerful position within the sprawling Habsburg dominions. The match was typical of the family's dynastic logic. Maria Anna and Ferdinand were not only first cousins, but also second cousins, a double bond that deepened the Habsburg tradition of inbreeding in the name of political and religious unity. Though the Habsburgs eventually approved the match, it was met with fierce resistance at first. Influential courtiers in Vienna warned that marrying Maria Anna of Bavaria would give the Wittelsbach dangerous sway over future Habsburg rule. But the driving force behind the union was Ferdinand's formidable mother, also named Maria Anna, and herself a Bavarian princess who saw the alliance as a masterstroke. To her, binding the Austrian and Bavarian houses was the key to restoring Catholic dominance in Central Europe and reuniting the fractured Holy Roman Empire under Habsburg control. United, they could crush any Protestant rival, be it the Palatinate, Brandenburg, or Saxony. Given that they were close family, Maria Anna and Ferdinand had known each other for a long time. As a youth, Ferdinand made frequent visits to the ducal court in Munich, where he grew familiar with his cousin. Although they were family, had similar interests, and were both zealous Roman Catholics, their union still raised eyebrows. While Maria Anna was 3.5 years older than Ferdinand, something that was almost unheard of at the time. Ferdinand had promised Maximilian that he would marry Maria Anna within weeks of Maximilian becoming Duke of Bavaria. Yet, it would take 3 years for it to be finalized, as Ferdinand became distracted by the latest of Austria's border wars with the Ottoman Turks in the Balkans. As their marriage drew ever closer, whispers of Maria Anna's health began to swell. Now in her mid-20s, she appeared pale, withdrawn and possibly unwell. Some questioned whether she could even bear children, a dangerous liability for a woman expected to produce heirs. Rumours of a mysterious malady clung to her like perfume at court, though no one dared name it. Those at court now began to worry. Could this fragile inbred princess really deliver the future of the Habsburg dynasty? At last, after 3 years of political wrangling and court intrigue, Maria Anna was married off to Ferdinand in the spring of 1600. The wedding took place in Graz, Ferdinand's provincial stronghold. She was 25, practically a spinster by royal standards, and he was just 21, already governing Inner Austria with steely ambition. Despite the age gap, whispered doubts, and rumours of ill health, the marriage surprised many. It wasn't just a cold political alliance. It would prove to be, at least outwardly, a remarkably harmonious union. Maria Anna had little interest in interfering in political affairs and focused solely on raising her family and facilitating her husband's advancement within the tortuous politics of the Habsburg family and the wider religious battleground of Central Europe at the time. It would also become clear that any reservations about Maria Anna's ability to have children were misplaced, but not entirely. 7 children came in the space of 13 years. A girl called Christine was first in May 1601, then a boy named Charles exactly 2 years later, followed by John Charles in 1605, Ferdinand in 1608, Maria Anna after her mother in January 1610, Cecilia Renata after her grandmother in 1611, and finally Leopold William in the first days of 1614. But despite finally producing heirs, the young couple's fortunes were grim in the beginning. Their first 2 children, Christine and Charles, were born only to die within hours or days. Cradled briefly in hope, and then buried in silence, their tiny lives marked a haunting start to Maria Anna's role as mother to a dynasty desperate for survival. John Charles would also die just after his 14th birthday, but the other 4 children would live relatively long lives by the standards of the time. Both Ferdinand and Maria Anna Jr. would follow the unpleasant practice of inbreeding amongst Europe's royals by entering uncle-niece unions, while Cecilia married into the Polish royal family. Though historical records offer little insight into the inner workings of their marriage, Maria Anna and Ferdinand's union is believed to have been relatively stable, bound more by duty than affection. Both were ultra-Catholic, rigidly devout, and ideologically aligned. But emotionally, theirs wasn't a love match. They left behind no love letters, no tender notes, and no whispers of warmth, only silence. Somewhat unfortunately, Maria Anna inherited the famously distorted features of her inbred lineage. But despite this, Ferdinand, in a rare twist for a Habsburg ruler, took no mistresses. Conservative, deeply pious, and almost puritanical, he either remained faithfully committed or so discreet that history never caught him in sin. Then again, perhaps he simply had no time for romance. Ferdinand had his eyes on a far greater prize, the imperial throne itself. Maria Anna's marriage witnessed a rapid turnover of rulers in Austria and Central Europe more broadly. When she married Ferdinand, Rudolf II, a highly eccentric and aloof man, was the Holy Roman Emperor and head of the Austrian Habsburgs. Many within the Viennese government let out a sigh of relief when he died in January 1612, as there was a growing political and religious crisis across Germany. Rudolf showed little interest in addressing these problems, and things only got worse. His successor was his brother Matthias, a more consequential and orthodox man who many had looked to for genuine leadership in Vienna during Rudolf's final years. But Matthias was without an heir, and was already in his mid-50s. It therefore seems likely that Ferdinand might succeed as head of the Austrian Habsburgs and Holy Roman Emperor before long. And with him, Maria Anna stood poised to ascend as one of the most powerful women in Europe. Thus, by 1612, Maria Anna was not just raising a family of middling noble children, she was raising the next generation of royalty, while preparing to seize a crown of her own. From the moment Maria Anna married in 1600, her life faded into the shadow of duty. Much of her existence was spent either watching her husband climb the rungs of Habsburg power or enduring the relentless cycle of pregnancy, childbirth, and grief. She left behind no writings, sparked no scandal, and challenged nothing. In many ways, her near total absence from the historical record is no accident. It's the result of a life lived in exact accordance with what society demanded of a royal woman. She was obedient, devout, and conservative, and in conforming so perfectly to that ideal, Maria Anna vanished, remembered only faintly, as the silent wife of an ambitious man. What is recorded throughout these years, though, is that she was frequently ill. Historians have never managed to figure out exactly what caused her malady. It could have come from a range of different things. Members of Europe's royal houses were becoming increasingly ill during these years as a result of near constant inbreeding. Some had conditions like hydrocephalus or genetic defects. This would peak in Spain half a century later, after uncles had married nieces and so forth for several generations in a row. Maria Anna was a Wittelsbach primarily, but her family had still intermarried to other European houses like the House of Habsburg and the House of Lorraine in the past. Perhaps this inbreeding explains some of her poor health. On the other hand, it's likely that the string of difficult pregnancies Maria Anna endured early in her marriage left her with lasting invisible damage. We may never know. What we do know is that she died in Graz on the 8th of March 1616 at 41 years of age. She was laid to rest shortly after in the Habsburg Mausoleum, reserved for the rulers of Inner Austria and their families in the city of Graz. Just 2 years later, Central Europe was plunged into a religious war. This was in part because of the nobles of places like Protestant Bohemia, who were deeply opposed to the imminent election of Maria Anna's widower, Ferdinand, as Emperor Ferdinand II. 6 years later, he remarried the much younger Eleonora Gonzaga. At the time he was 43 and she was 23, though this second union produced no children. Eventually, Maria Anna's eldest surviving son would become Emperor Ferdinand III in 1637, and he proved to be an agreeable figure who managed to end the 30 Years' War and bring about an end to the worst of the religious strife in Central Europe. Ultimately, Maria Anna's marriage to Ferdinand failed to produce the kind of diplomatic coup that the Austrian Habsburgs had hoped for. The idea was to tie Bavaria more closely to Austria. This might have ultimately united the two realms, or at least ensured an alliance between the two major Roman Catholic powers of southern Germany for decades to come. In the short run, this did occur. During the 30 Years' War that began in 1618, Bavaria did indeed ally with Austria for much of it. However, it was a short-lived alliance. When a fresh pan-European war began in 1701, the War of the Spanish Succession, to decide if a French or Austrian candidate should succeed as King of Spain, the Bavarians allied with France against Austria. And this was pretty much what they did in every major conflict for the next century and a half. Finally, in 1871, when Prussia pressured the other German states into uniting into a German empire that excluded Austria, the Bavarians went with the Prussians. Thus, Maria Anna and Ferdinand's union ultimately failed to tie Austria and Bavaria together as the two major Roman Catholic powers of southern Germany. Thank you so much everyone for watching this video on Maria Anna of Bavaria. I hope you found it interesting. Please let me know if you want more videos on inbred royals, or if you have any other suggestions. Also let me know down below in the comments. I hope you guys are subscribed and have notifications turned on to get all my videos as soon as I upload them. Anyway, that's all from me, so I'll see all of you in the next Forgotten Life. Thanks.